Have you ever had a moment where everything looked normal on the outside, but inside something felt off? You're talking, working, scrolling, laughing, but there's a quiet voice in the background asking, "Is this really me?" Not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly. And most people ignore it. They keep moving, keep chasing, keep performing, because stopping means facing something uncomfortable, the possibility that you've been living on autopilot. Law 1. The illusion of control. Think about the last time you said something you regret. It happened fast, didn't it? The emotion hit, and before you could think, you reacted. Later, when everything calmed down, you told yourself, "That's not who I am." But here's the truth no one likes to admit. In that moment, that was you. Not the version you show the world, not the version you wish you were, but the raw, unfiltered version beneath it all. We like to believe we are rational, that we think, then act. But in reality, we feel first, and only then do we try to justify it. Your emotions don't ask for permission. They move fast, they take control, and your logic? It shows up late, trying to clean up the mess. But here's where your power begins. Not in controlling your emotions, but in catching them in the act. The next time anger rises, pause. The next time fear whispers, notice it. The next time desire pulls you, question it. Because in that small gap between feeling and reaction, your freedom lives. Law 2. The hidden addiction to validation. Now let me ask you something. How much of your life is actually yours? And how much of it is shaped by what others think? You post something and wait for the reaction. You say something and scan the room for approval. You make decisions not based on what feels right, but on what will be accepted. Slowly, without realizing it, you start living through other people's eyes. And that's where the trap begins. Because the moment your worth depends on the outside world, you lose control of it. A compliment can lift you. A single negative look can break you. And suddenly, you're no longer living, you're performing. Law 3. The mask you forgot you were wearing. From a young age, you learned how to fit in. Be polite, be strong, be successful, be likable. So you built a version of yourself that the world would accept. And it worked. People liked you, respected you, approved of you. But over time, something strange happened. You stopped asking, "Who am I?" and started asking, "Who should I be?" That version of you, the confident one, the calm one, the perfect one, became your identity. But deep down, you know, that's not the full story. Because behind every mask, there's a part of you that doesn't fit the image. The part that feels insecure. The part that doubts. The part that wants more or something different. And the more you hide it, the stronger it becomes. Law 4. The patterns you don't see. Look closely at your life. Not the big moments, but the small repeated ones. The same type of mistakes. The same kind of relationships. The same reactions. Over and over again. Different faces. Different situations. Same outcome. That's not coincidence. That's a pattern. Most people think they're choosing their life, but in reality, they're replaying it. Old emotional habits, running in the background like a script written years ago, through experiences, fears, and expectations. And unless you become aware of it, you will keep repeating it, again and again. Law 5. The turning point. At some point in life, if you're paying attention, you start to feel tired. Not physically, but mentally, emotionally, deeply tired. Tired of pretending, tired of reacting, tired of chasing things that don't fulfill you. And that moment, it's not weakness, it's not failure. It's something much more important. It's the beginning of awareness. Because the moment you start questioning your life is the moment you stop living unconsciously. You begin to see things clearly. Your patterns, your need for validation, your masks. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. This is where most people turn back. Because awareness is uncomfortable. It forces you to take responsibility. But a few people keep going. They stop blaming. They stop pretending. They stop running. And instead, they start rebuilding themselves from the inside. But here's the truth. Awareness is only the first step, because once you see the illusion, you face a new challenge. Who are you without it? And more importantly, how do you take control of your mind, your behavior, and your future, instead of being controlled by it? That's where things get real. Now that you've started to see it, the patterns, the masks, the need for validation, there's something even more uncomfortable waiting beneath it all. Because awareness doesn't automatically change you. You can see the problem and still repeat it. You can understand yourself and still feel stuck. So, the real question becomes, why do you keep doing what you know is holding you back? Law 6. The invisible chains. Imagine this. Someone promises themselves, I'm going to change, starting tomorrow. They wake up motivated, disciplined, focused. But a few days later, they're back in the same habits, same distractions, same excuses, same life. Sound familiar? That's because most people don't fail from lack of knowledge. They fail because of something deeper. Invisible chains. Habits form not just by action, but by emotion. You don't procrastinate because you're lazy. You procrastinate because you're avoiding discomfort. You don't stay in the wrong situation because you're weak. You stay because it feels familiar. And the mind will always choose familiar over better, even if familiar is painful. Law 7. The comfort of self-sabotage. This is where it gets dangerous. Because sometimes you are not just stuck. You are protecting the very thing that's holding you back. Think about it. If you've spent years doubting yourself, success feels unfamiliar. If you've always played small, growth feels threatening. If you've built your identity around fear, confidence feels fake. So what do? You hesitate. You delay. You overthink, not because you can't move forward, but because moving forward would require you to become someone new. And that terrifies you. Law 8. The war between who you are and who you could be. Inside you, there are two versions. The one you've practiced, and the one you're capable of becoming. One is comfortable, safe. The other, uncertain, demanding, unknown. And every single day, those two versions are in conflict. When you choose comfort, you strengthen the old version. When you choose growth, you feed the new one. But here's the truth. You don't become better by thinking differently. You become better by acting differently. Even when it feels unnatural. Even when it feels uncomfortable. Even when it feels fake. Because at first, it will feel fake. Law 9. Rewiring your identity. Most people try to change their life without changing their identity. They say, I want success. I want discipline. I want confidence. But deep down they still believe, I'm not that kind of person. And as long as that belief exists, nothing changes. Because your actions will always align with who you think you are. So instead of asking, what should I do? Start asking, who do I need to become? The disciplined person doesn't debate every decision. The confident person doesn't wait for approval. The focused person doesn't negotiate with distractions. They act because that's who they are. Law 10. The power of small decisions. Here's where most people get it wrong. They wait for a big moment, a perfect plan, a surge of motivation. But real change doesn't happen in big moments. It happens in small, almost invisible decisions. Waking up when you don't feel like it. Doing the work when no one is watching. Choosing discipline over distraction again and again. These moments feel insignificant, but they're not. Because every small action sends a message to your mind. This is who I am now. And over time, that message becomes your identity. Law 11. Detaching from the old you. But there's one final step, and it's the hardest one. Letting go of who you used to be. Not your past, but your attachment to it. The excuses you've repeated. The limitations you've accepted. The story you've told yourself for years. Because as long as you keep saying, "That's just how I am," you stay the same. Growth requires separation. You have to look at your old self, your old habits, your old mindset, and say, "That's not me anymore," even before it feels true. But here's where everything changes. Because once you take control of yourself, a new challenge appears. The world, other people, their opinions, their expectations, their influence. Because no matter how strong you become internally, the outside world will try to pull you back. So the next question is, how do you stay in control when everything around you is trying to control you? There is a part of you don't talk about. You don't post it. You don't show it. You don't even like to admit it exists. But it's there, watching, waiting, growing in silence. This is your shadow, not the version of you that wants to be better, but the version of you that feels envy, anger, resentment, desire you can't explain. The version of you that compares, that judges, that sometimes wants to see others fail. And the more you try to hide it, the stronger it becomes. Because what you suppress doesn't disappear. It transforms. It leaks out in ways you don't expect. In passive-aggressive comments. In silent jealousy. In that sudden irritation that makes no sense. You think you're reacting to the moment, but you're reacting to something much deeper. Most people spend their entire lives trying to prove they are good. Good person, good friend, good image. But in doing that, they disconnect from half of who they are. And here's the dangerous part. The more you deny your darkness, the more control it has over you. Because you can't control what you refuse to see. Think about it. The person who claims they never get angry explodes one day over something small. The person who says they're not jealous quietly resents everyone's success. The person who acts kind all the time feels empty when no one notices. That's not random. That's the shadow finding a way out. And if you don't face it consciously, it will control you unconsciously. This is why people sabotage themselves. Not because they're weak, but because there's a part of them they've never understood. A part that feels ignored, unheard, rejected. So it takes control, and it doesn't ask for permission. It shows up when you're tired, when you're emotional, when your guard is down. And in those moments, you become someone you don't recognize. Then later, you say, "That's not who I am." But the truth is, it is. It's just the part of you you never took the time to understand. And this is where real transformation begins. Not when you try to become better, but when you become whole. Because growth isn't about removing your darkness. It's about integrating it, understanding it, owning it, learning how to direct it. That anger, it can become boundaries. That jealousy, it can reveal what you truly want. That insecurity, it can push you to grow. But only if you stop pretending it's not there. This is the work most people avoid. Because it requires brutal honesty. No filters, no excuses, no pretending. You have to look at yourself without the mask and ask, what am I hiding from myself? And the answer won't be comfortable, but it will be real. And reality is where power begins. Because once you see your shadow clearly, it loses its ability to control you. It doesn't disappear, but it becomes something else. Can use. Something you can direct. Something that no longer owns you. And here's the final truth most people never realize. The strongest people in the world are not the ones who are always good. They are the ones who understand their darkness and choose their actions anyway. That's real control. That's real power. So the next time you feel something you don't like, don't push it away. Don't label it as wrong. Look at it. Sit with it. Understand it. Because the parts of you you try the hardest to hide are often the parts that hold the most power. And if you can face them, truly face them, there is nothing left in you that can be used against you.